Welcome to a new episode of the Beauty of Business podcast. Today's guest loves design and has built a curated marketplace for art, lifestyle, and homeware. Welcome to the pod, Andy.
Thank you very much for the intro there, Alex, and inviting me on. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Great to have you. So, what sparked your interest for design?
I've always been into design and I suppose respecting the art of craftsmanship and yeah, for quite a number of years now. It's always been there, but from my professional career, I've never been in a role that kind of represented anything to do with that. So I've always had that itch to do something eventually that that aligns with my enjoyments and loves in that kind of realm. Really, I think if you're able to do something that has a remote kind of synergy with what you enjoy, there's a very good chance it's going to succeed the other end. So yeah.
That's great. There's a reason why we've called this podcast The Beauty of Business, which we'll probably get into later. But do you think design, and by extension of design, art as well, is like entirely subjective, or are there any objective rules to what makes something good design, good art, or beautiful?
I think it's quite subjective, really. I think, my tastes are going to be very different to yours, but I think generally, from looking at something point of view and enjoying what that looks like in design form is subjective, I think, at the end of the day. So yeah, I'll definitely go along that route. I don't think there's any kind of box to fit what is good design and what is bad design. I think that's for sure subjective. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about you and your background.
Mm-hmm.
You're now the founder behind DesignSnitch. This isn't your first project as a founder.
It is. Yeah.
It is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did the idea come from?
It actually started about maybe 6 years ago or so, roughly, when I had this idea about building and getting out there an art only kind of marketplace,
Yeah.
where we would partner with artists to, work on exclusive kind of drops and pieces, whether that be print or one-offs. Did a lot of research, met a lot of artists around where I'm from in Birmingham, the UK. And it was pretty unanimous that I should start this thing. But I didn't. There was something holding me back from it. I think, I just wanted to maybe just step back from that idea and let it evolve and grow, which it did, into DesignSnitch. What that is today is including art, but also it kind of specializes in housing the cream of the crop in terms of design and craftsmanship in one place. So it isn't an art only platform anymore. It's mixing art and furniture and exploring different types of craftsmanship and manufacturing and design, from hand carved to 3D printed and kind of everything in between that. But it's certainly of the mid to high end of the market.
Yep.
So yeah.
In terms of starting this project, there are so many pieces to put together. It's the art side, there's now the furniture or homeware, home style, and then the lifestyle aspect of things. But it's also building the platform and getting payment solutions. How did you actually get started?
Yeah, that was a bit of a journey. That's well, I think we could talk for a few hours on that question alone. But yeah, I think when I first started this, there was taking that research that I'd got from back 6-7 years ago, and that one of the main pain points was being a supportive platform, so a hands-on platform in a way. So that was part of or an element of what DesignSnitch would become. But in terms of how I got started, it was I had to go through some learnings during that process of partnering with the wrong type of software and partners generally that didn't quite hit what I suppose from a functionality point of view, what I was happy with. So I was very close a few times to pushing the button on a few different kind of partnerships on a software point of view, but luckily my gut was telling me otherwise, and I kind of pulled back from that. And then fast forward a year, maybe a year and a half after I thought about kind of creating DesignSnitch, finally kind of arriving on the final plan and software. But that wasn't introduced to me until a networking event where that networking event was the first kind of event that I talked about DesignSnitch to other people outside of friends and family and things like that. And at that event was someone who built and sold marketplaces for obviously other founders over the years, and was very much an expert in that space. But the software was incredible. I had a demo of that software the day after I met a UK-based company doing this. And yeah, I was blown away. It kind of it ticked everything that I wanted from a feature perspective to be, and having that kind of flexibility to plug other features in further down the line. So yeah, we partnered up in that sense, and then it's kind of gone from there really. It took around about a year to get live. There was a lot of back and forth, let's say, certainly on the branding side of things, and
Right.
really making sure from a consumer side, the journey that they would go on the platform would be a pleasurable one. We don't have patience, I don't think, as people when we're navigating websites and things. So that was very important to get that right. Also, from a branding point of view, the world we're in needs great branding and great design. So on that side, I partnered with a design agency and a branding agency in London who was highly recommended, and those guys are also involved on a small equity level in the business, and that kind of then follows onto the whole bootstrapping subject. There was interest in investing in DesignSnitch before this existed. But I think founders jump too soon at the money on the table sometimes, although it's hard to maybe kind of take your eyes off that at those early stages because you
Yeah.
think it's gonna kind of fast track you in some way. But I've seen various platforms been ruined over the years because of that. And that was something that maybe a little bit of a harsh word there, ruined, but I think you've got to be so careful with controlling the direction and partnering with the right people from an investor point of view. So I wanted to, I suppose, take that control and see out the vision and the goal for DesignSnitch. So I self-funded the first, let's say stage one of DesignSnitch, of getting it out there, building a team from on an equity level, to really put everything into place, ready for the next stage. So yeah, that's where we're at so far.
So you built the software, the platform,
Mhm.
but you also need the actual products. So for the people who are listening, the products aren't the artist behind those products. It's
No.
other artists.
Yes.
How do you get them on your platform? Because from what I remember from our discussions, is an interesting story.
Yeah, it's I think marketplaces of the famous saying, the whole chicken and egg scenario with a marketplace. You can't go live until you've got, firstly, I suppose a product that people believe in, and that there's a gap for those products and people and all the rest of it to clearly fit into. You know, in a, I was going to say luckily, but it's not luckily. There was a lot of thought behind
Yes.
it all, but you know, from that side, that's a side that we don't really have any issues with. So creating that kind of supply side from a brand perspective and how we kind of get out there for that when we first started or before we existed. This is an application only marketplace, which is really important. It's not an open floodgates policy where anyone can just kind of start uploading their products and selling them. You know, that it's really important we take that curated, picky route. That there's other platforms out there which do have an open floodgates policy, which, you know, that's their market and, you know, they fit in well into that, but that is not ours. Uh, and also from a brand partner point of view, that was one of their main issues with the market is, you know, one, there's too much of the same products everywhere, for one, which, you know, it doesn't really give the consumer much choice in that respect. But there's also millions and millions of different types of products out there in the market. So it's really difficult for a brand to stand out now, and have a unique kind of position in that market if those products are all the same.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of individual brands and individual people that are you know kind of just creators that are, you know, making great products, but they maybe struggle a little bit with expanding their brand, and that's where we can also support on that aspect. You know, that's a really important part of this as well. Is yes, we go out to the market uh, to find and uncover brands. We also invite brands to apply for the platform. I think we're around about 8-9% approval rate on the applications that are coming through at the moment. But we deliberately haven't spoken about our applications yet on social media since before we launched, because we were inundated with applications from
Yeah.
all over you know, UK and Europe, which is a great problem to have. But you know that did take a lot of work to get through all of those applications and decide on who was the right and who was, you know, maybe come back another time and apply. So we went live with around about 30 brands in total from that 450 odd. And now we're at the point of talking about that application process again very soon. So, you know, ready for the next kind of onslaught of applications. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's also very interesting because there is so much talk about like AI and automation stuff, but in this case, you actually need to look through all of the applications because, as you said, the art or craft is subjective as well. And
Yeah.
when you want that platform to be curated, you can't just like run it through AI filter based
No.
on X and Y. You actually need to look through them. So yeah, I imagine 400 plus applicants takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it does, no, for sure. And as time goes by, that whole kind of process will become much easier from a time point of view. You know, with, as you say, the introduction of AI and which is a really important inclusion to marketplaces, I think, moving forwards and making it easier for the consumer to find products on marketplaces. You know, AI has a really great fit for, you know, marketplaces moving forward, which is something that we'll be implementing for sure as we start to ramp it up. Yeah.
If you're a brand or a creator that wants to apply to be on DesignSnitch,
Mhm.
what are kind of what are the things you're looking for in a brand or a creator that wants to get on your platform?
Well, I mean, in terms of types of products, it's quite a broad range there. So, you know, I mean, it can cover furniture making, glass, ceramics, 3D printing, textiles, and many more. So we're quite open in terms of what products are coming onto the platform, but where we need to really look into things a little bit deeper um, are, let's say, like a broad range of taste within that product. So, we've got to be, looking at it's not too niche. There are other platforms for that. There's a few in the US which are much more focused on more unique kind of tastes, let's say, um, and one-off pieces and things like that. So, we wanna explore the range of types of design for sure. And we can't, just onboard brands that we, automatically like, oh, that's really nice kind of thing. We've got to be quite subjective on that side. So, there's definitely a lot of thought that goes into each one that we onboard. I meet every brand that comes onto the platform, which I think is really important. Like I said before, this is very much a hands-on, not a hands-off scenario. So when a brand does get on board, we're actively talking to the brand every month, or that individual will jump on a Zoom with them and have a discussion about new products, social media strategy, and any kind of supportive aspects we can kind of help them with in that way. Obviously, it's not there. In some cases, it's really not something that they've thought about from a social media brand expansion point of view. That's something that we want to kind of improve and help with. So that is another element that will be coming for DesignSnitch as well. Is more of a kind of supportive mechanism there, so we can help brands with their social media strategy, what monthly workshops and Zooms, covering lighting and photography, social media, various speakers from the design and craftsmanship world. So all of those things we want to help with. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the co-branding distributor partnership between the platform and the creators, the brands. I think it's going to be very important, as well as it's right now it's exclusivity on the platform as well, isn't it? So
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
product that's on the DesignSnitch is only on the DesignSnitch as well.
yeah. That's a key point. I think that is to this whole thing, is working with those brands on an exclusive level. They have their own collection on their own website. It's an easier route, I suppose, to suggest, right, let's just copy and paste what you already do and give you another avenue to sell your
Sure.
product, right? But easiest is not always the best fit. And although it's a little bit more work on their side as well, we'll work with them to produce different colors or designs you can only get on DesignSnitch, and that's where it really sits as a brand extension piece for those brands and individuals coming onto the platform. And ultimately, that's where the value is on the consumer side as well. Going into exclusive limited edition prints and one-off pieces of furniture and all of that kind of thing. There's no real destination for that at the moment. And also, where this works, I think really well, is mixing the different specialisms on the platform. So it isn't just an art only platform. It's not just a furniture only or a lighting only platform. We want to house different specialisms of each kind of type of product, really. So if you're an artist, you will pull your kind of fans and followers over to DesignSnitch to maybe purchase an exclusive piece, but that consumer then will also uncover and find other brands in other specialisms, textiles, etc., where they wouldn't have maybe found that brand or product before. And that's what we really want to advocate, that. And also going back to their kind of maker's website to purchase
Yeah.
other items in their own collection. So it's when I suppose thinking of what fits from a market perspective, but also um, how does the model work in a mutually beneficial way? And I think that's it. Yeah.
What's been the most challenging part of building DesignSnitch so far?
Um, I'd say I'd say finding the right software and back end
Yeah,
of the platform was quite challenging. I went through two different ideas and was very close to pushing the button on one of them, which just didn't fit what was needed for scalability really and flexibility for the software moving forward. I've got all these ideas and plans to for certain features in the future, and it was really important that that was flexible from a software perspective. So I'd definitely say that was the more challenging part of this. And marketplaces are on the face of it don't look complex really. From a consumer side, you
yeah,
just look at this kind of website and see all these lovely products and all the rest of it, and um, that's great, but there's a lot of complexity behind the workings of a marketplace. So, finding that partnership and software was definitely the harder part of the journey so far, I'd say.
makes sense. Because there are many solutions and different platforms to do both e-commerce. I imagine there are also kind of boxed solutions for marketplaces as well,
Yeah.
but they're pretty rigid in terms of what they can do. And if you need anything else, or like you said, the scalability of it as well,
Mm.
it's very hard to get in many of these kind of
Yes.
SaaS model products as well. So, uh, yeah, the solution you've found with the DesignSnitch looks great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really does tick so many boxes for us, and there are and still obviously are options on the market which are more off the shelf, and
Yeah.
they're great solutions, but I think uh, if you're kind of just starting out, or you can really have a very reasonably priced start off to a an MVP or whatever, just to get things moving on a subscription level now. But this just wasn't available 5 years ago. For me to get to where I've got to now, self-funding it just wouldn't have been possible 5 years ago. And there weren't really off the shelf products then for marketplaces, to be honest. So, you're probably talking an easy six figure to get to market 5 years ago. Yeah, it's amazing the tools that are out there for to get a marketplace off the ground now for a reasonable kind of amount of money. Yeah.
In terms of building it and then now recently actually launching the product and the platform,
Okay.
it takes a bit more marketing to drive traffic to it, and then also getting more applications when you open for new applications again. What has it taken from you in terms of marketing? Do you do more content, LinkedIn? What's the plan around marketing for DesignSnitch? And also, we talk a lot about personal branding. Is that something you think about for this
Yeah,
project?
massively. And all of the above is we've got a kind of we're at the start of this whole journey in a way,
Yeah,
but I think from my strategy and from what a lot of other founders are, and this has changed over the years, right? But the old kind of thought of the same content being copy and pasted on other
yeah,
multiple social media platforms is just not the right strategy. Now each one has got to be taken in its own form. So we're starting on Instagram, have started on Instagram. So that'll be the our kind of port of call for certainly the short term is getting our content right on there and building the right foundation, and really kind of having a solid strategy before we move on to the next one, which could be TikTok or Pinterest. I mean, both we're going to be going for, especially on TikTok. TikTok, I'm quite excited to start that. I won't give you too much, but TikTok is something that I really want to get on later this year for sure. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Really starting on one platform, getting that right, getting your brand voice where it needs to be, and the content and all the rest of it that you're comfortable with, and you've got kind of pretty decent traction. And then you can move on to other platforms. But on the, I suppose, founder story side of things,
Yeah.
I've started that off on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is such a great platform for, that founder story, founder-led kind of scenario. And I think it's really interesting that brands are going into that zone now, and it builds so much more trust in that founder and what they're creating and building. It's really interesting to see those different journeys of those kind of founders that put themselves, up front and personal kind of thing, and talking about their journey from start to finish is something that I want to. I've started it a little bit, I've dabbled dipped my toe in the water, and that's something that I'll be doing a lot more of for sure. But going back to LinkedIn, that it's yeah, I mean, there's what, 900 odd million members of LinkedIn, and only 1% of them post, which is insane. So, the potential traction that you can get from, building your brand on LinkedIn in a way, maybe not so much on the consumer side, although that may help a bit. But, just getting yourself out there and building that brand awareness up is just yeah, it's a great platform. I think they've got a lot of things in the pipeline which are quite exciting as well.
Yeah, I just heard in terms of video has been kind of my bet, because the evolution of every single platform we've seen has been kind of text, image, video. And now LinkedIn has been text, it's image, and by history standards is going to be video, which they have kind of confirmed in terms of what they have told their creator program, which they're going to start monetizing on video on the platform. So they're going to start creating video ads, like pre-roll ads like we see on YouTube, or in-feed ads like you see on TikTok and Instagram. So it's going to be interesting posting video on LinkedIn going forward and see how that evolves. I've been saying it for maybe a year and a half. That video is going to take over LinkedIn.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, I've already started seeing the movement there with some of the people that I follow. It's all going video now, and I think I actually jumped on a call with a LinkedIn kind of, let's say, expert.
Yeah.
And her traction is just phenomenal. Consistently posting more video now, I've noticed. And because people aren't posting enough video, LinkedIn are repurposing those videos that are already on there, that have already been put out there. So they're just getting so many more eyeballs than maybe your traditional platforms in that sense right now. So now's as good a time as any to jump on and start posting video on LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm telling myself that as well. So
yeah, I just posted today, just taking all the YouTube videos we have and just posting them on the platform, and then we will probably create a video strategy for LinkedIn as well, more specifically targeted to our kind of core audience. And then we're going to figure out which type of videos perform best, and creative stuff.
Yeah, no, cool.
You are going to speak in London at the Stripe event. How did that come?
That was quite out of the blue, actually. No, I just got a message from one of the guys who were setting the event up, if I'd be up for a chat on that. And yeah, he asked me to kind of talk about the story behind DesignSnitch, and also the meaning of building a community now. of I think it's a really interesting subject and topic to kind of go through. So I'm quite excited about that chat. Maybe again 5 years ago, this maybe wouldn't have taken off from a community level to the extent it would do today if it's done right. But I think anyone building a product, um, not just product, but business, has the opportunity to foster a community. And I think from a longevity point of view, if that community is I suppose looked after in a way, and almost like bringing those kind of human elements to that community, that has a lot more longevity than I suppose paid advertising. Moving forward, I do
Yeah.
believe that same scenario as email marketing and getting that right to get the message out to the community. So it's all a bit of an ecosystem, really. But no, we've really got a great opportunity with DesignSnitch to build a great community of both brands and partners that are on the platform, because there won't be hundreds and thousands of brands on here. There's no need for it to get to that level. So I think kind of fostering those relationships, because that's what they are really. I think when you're building a community, it's really, really important asset to have in any business. I don't want to sound cold when I'm saying that, but I'm very much a kind of people person anyway. So we've got some great ideas about building the DesignSnitch community. It's very early stages for us yet. We've only got 30 brands on the platform, but it's been very good on the reaction so far, and the responses to those brands. We've set up a WhatsApp group for those initial kind of brands. So we're keeping it close on that side of things. We've also got a internal newsletter, so we're very open and honest about where we're taking DesignSnitch, what's coming, and all the rest of it. Sharing as much information and really being as open as possible. It all helps to build in the community. And yeah, I'm always maybe too open sometimes. That's just how I am. But yeah, I think it's a really great asset to have the opportunity to build
Yeah.
a community. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the invite from Stripe again also kind of validates both the platform and the brand, which again gives a new level of kind of authority and trust for the DesignSnitch and for yourself as well. So it's a great opportunity. Film it for your own content, put a mic on, and just film it as well.
We've not long had a videographer start in the team.
Yeah.
That will be a good scenario for him to rock up to and give me a bit of content there. Although it's going to be filmed, but no, you're 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just great for repurposing content as well as I film everything we do kind of publicly speaking or meetings. A lot of it goes into content, a lot of it, and some of it goes into just watching it back in terms of how we speak about the brand and how we kind of formulate the brand as well. So it's a good feedback cycle, but again, the content you can provide as well as it being on the stage with Stripe is just perfect.
Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to it. I think the event's pretty much sold out now. So yeah, very much looking forward to that.
What's your best advice for founders and business owners?
That's a big one. Yeah. In terms of my journey, I didn't rush this starting DesignSnitch. I let it start on version 1 of this idea, which was obviously going to be that art only platform. And then it was probably 3 years later that grew into what DesignSnitch is now, with mixing multiple types of specialisms, on high level design and craftsmanship. So, yeah, don't rush. Is definitely one piece of advice, and the other is you don't always have to take the money on the table. On that sense, yeah, I think founders rush sometimes too much for that. Obviously, it depends on the situation and the idea and all the rest of it, but who you partner with, if you do decide to take that money, is really important. So yeah, those are the two nuggets of wisdom, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because I think a lot of people, especially founders that immediately go to raise money, is attracted to some sort of founder lifestyle that they've seen on the internet. Someone raised X amount of millions, and then of course they got sold some of their shares, and now they bought the penthouse, big city offices that cost way too much, and then they're actually on the bottom line, they're broke. So I also think a lot about, should you actually get the money, and when to actually fundraise as well, because it shouldn't always be on the idea, like angel investing, we need the money now to start building. You can start building before you get the money as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And there's a lot of good ideas, but that's raised a lot of money but hasn't become anything, because I think the focus has been on raising money, not building the product.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And the amount of bits of software and products now on the market to be able to get to market for pretty, a low amount of money is just insane, compared to what it was. So, but as well, from a founder's point of view, you have got to be resourceful, to get there anyway. And certainly if you're not accepting money on the table, even if you do, I think from an investor's point of view, they kind of want to see you being resourceful and not being kind of frivolous, throwing your money around, these apartments and founder lifestyle, as you say. But it's definitely not how it's painted. Yeah.
I completely agree. So we have a closing tradition, which we ask every single guest, and that is, what is the beauty of business to you?
I love that question.
Thank you.
The beauty of business to me is I suppose the thought of one of the reasons why I started DesignSnitch was aligning with what I enjoyed, and what I feel I can execute on, and to find both of those things and hold off until that happens, I think is yeah, that's my kind of sweet spot, I suppose. I am in that. I have always had the itch to start my own business, but I'm doing something that I have an affinity for, an enjoyment for, and I think those types of businesses where you can align that are much more likely to be successful. If the founder behind it, and who's I suppose kind of turning the ship in various directions over the years, is aligned on that level. The ones and zeros or whatever will happen, but that's not the driving force. Is the enjoyment factor of building something and making a difference in the market is where it's at. Yeah.
That's a great response. Okay. Where can people find you? Where could it go? Who should contact you?
The DesignSnitch Instagram account is designs.snitch. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Andrew Waldron, or you'll find me through the DesignSnitch page there as well.
All links will be in the description and show notes. And thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Alex.
Cheers.